Hi, Ben from Second Dynasty here. For the last 5 years, we've been making 3D printable starships for tabletop gaming, having successfully launched over 5 Kickstarters. Now we are proud to announce our collaboration with Far Future Enterprises to bring official starships from the Traveller universe to your 3D printed tabletop. We have produced the most highly detailed Type S Scout imaginable, at glorious 28mm scale. And now we are adding a perfect starter project for first-time 3D printing hobbyists, our official Traveller Starship Miniatures. Based on the designs of renowned Traveller artist Ian Stead, each of these miniatures is printable in a matter of hours. Designed for printing on both SLA and FDM type 3D printers, these starships come in 2 different scales, the popular 1 to 270 X-Wing scale, and tactical, where the ships are all fit on a 1-inch base for tactical combat. Additional funding will unlock amazing new stretch goals that will be added to your core pledge for free. The more people who back the campaign, the more goodies we unlock, including many fan favorite ships. We love making 3D printable spaceships for all to enjoy, be it as tabletop terrain for gaming, display models, or even toys for the kids. There has never been a better time to get into 3D printing with our most approachable and easy to print designs yet. Your funds will go directly into production of our next 28mm scale starship, the Type A Free Trader Beowulf. With your continued support, we'll be able to bring starships from the Traveller universe into the 3rd dimension for a long time to come. Okay, that time I was wrong, so good news guys, we get to go live right now. If you were able to join us straight away, you would have seen a preview of our pitch film for the Kickstarter that we are launching in 30 minutes. I'm Ben from Second Dynasty, of course. With me I have Albin.
Yo!
And in the background we also have Lisa, who I'm sure will be waving on 2 cameras there. So we are all prepped, we are all prepared to release our 6th Kickstarter and our 7th crowdfunding campaign.
That's awesome.
It has been quite a journey getting it to this point, especially trying to squeeze it in before the end of the year, where everyone needs to start thinking about Christmas and Black Friday. And you know, maybe normally I don't advocate for
Drugs. Sorry.
Well, no, let's not talk about drugs and advocating. What I wanted to say is normally I wouldn't advocate for our Kickstarters or our STL files to be an ideal sort of Christmas present. But considering the fact that we are in the situation that we are currently in, if you know someone who would appreciate classic Traveller starships at this smaller scale, God, we didn't bring in the miniatures. We should have done that. Album's going to go and do that. This is actually the ideal sort of thing to gift to someone, because unlike our 28mm starships, which I absolutely love working on, which I love printing and building, they do take a considerable amount of time to get onto your tabletop. Whereas these ships, a Type S, like down here, even at the 1 to 270 X-Wing scale, that will print in about 4 or 5 hours on an FDM printer. So these actually print quite quick enough that you could make Christmas presents of them. So I'm not going to this time say I can't recommend it as a gift, because you can actually make gifts with this. And if they don't get a handle on that shipping problem in the US, you may have to make Christmas presents. So yeah, Alvin is currently showing off some of the miniatures. You might want to put them a bit closer to camera.
Yep.
So you can kind of see them at full scale. We of course have a lot more. You know what? Before we go too much further, maybe we should look at the pitch film one more time. So I just need to get it started and turn off a few layers here. So we will be back in about 3 minutes. Hi, Ben from Second Dynasty here. For the last 5 years, we've been making 3D printable starships for tabletop gaming, having successfully launched over 5 Kickstarters. Now we are proud to announce our collaboration with Far Future Enterprises to bring official starships from the Traveller universe to your 3D printed tabletop. We have produced the most highly detailed Type S Scout imaginable, at glorious 28mm scale. And now we are adding a perfect starter project for first-time 3D printing hobbyists, our official Traveller Starship Miniatures. Based on the designs of renowned Traveller artist Ian Stead, each of these miniatures is printable in a matter of hours. Designed for printing on both SLA and FDM type 3D printers, these starships come in 2 different scales: the popular 1 to 270 X-Wing scale, and tactical, where the ships are all fit on a 1-inch base for tactical combat. Additional funding will unlock amazing new stretch goals that will be added to your core pledge for free. The more people who back the campaign, the more goodies we unlock, including many fan favorite ships. We love making 3D printable spaceships for all to enjoy, be it as tabletop terrain for gaming, display models, or even toys for the kids. There has never been a better time to get into 3D printing with our most approachable and easy to print designs yet. Your funds will go directly into production of our next 28mm scale starship, the Type A Free Trader Beowulf. With your continued support, we'll be able to bring starships from the Traveller universe into the 3rd dimension for a long time to come. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed what we had to offer there. It is kind of a slight rehash of the Type S campaign that we did do in the summer. This has sort of been quite an adventure, because we have collaborated with artist Ian Stead to bring you these awesome models. He had some SketchUp versions of these ships. We've converted them to Maya. We've added an extra detail pass on each of them, and then we've created them, remade them in such a way that they are 3D printable in various different parts. And we can demonstrate a little bit how this is all going to work and fit together, and also kind of preview what's coming up. So we have been delayed by a week. I lost my dog a couple of weeks ago, and we had to put the campaign a bit... I didn't lose my dog died. We had to postpone the campaign a week, and then we've also heard back from our marketing company a little bit late, so we delayed it one more day. Otherwise, we would have started yesterday. We are running through until I want to say the 22nd of November, Monday the 22nd of November. We're finishing at midnight local time for once. The major difference there being that normally we would finish at 5 p.m. So it is a shorter campaign, but we do want to sort of like get it over and done with before our American friends are starting to focus on Thanksgiving and Black Friday and Christmas, which is quite an intense time. So yeah, that was the main goal with the timeline. And all of the proceeds of this campaign is basically going into financing our 28mm scale Type A Beowulf. So it would be this ship here, although not specifically Ian's version of it, because we are basing it on the T5 deck plans, with a few slight modifications, mostly with the position of the landing gear. But yeah, we will see how that all turns out. But that is going to be quite a lengthy process. And the last time we did a campaign, we did it on My Mini Factory crowdfunding, and it went very well. But we wanted to, we need to sort of just see if we can reach a wider audience on Kickstarter with Traveller. So that was sort of why the inspiration. And then the other thing was this whole, having to invest so much time in a 28mm scale ship, both for us, like the Type S, this is our Type S here, or the miniature of it. It took 5 months of development time to get this to a printable state and to get that campaign out, right? And that's quite an investment of time, not only for us, but also for you, because it does take several weeks to print on an FDM printer. Then you have to assemble it and then paint it. So you're looking at weeks or even months before you can actually get it on your tabletop. And this isn't always the most practical, even though if it's like a killer hobby sort of project, it's quite an investment of time, right? So we were trying to think, and then the other issue is too, it's great when you want 28mm play, but unless you're making a hero ship, and even then, a Type S is going to be maybe your starter ship in Traveller, but more than likely you're going to start with a Type A or a different vessel altogether. So, you could justify printing it as a hero ship, but it is quite a lot of work, right? However, what happens more often in Traveller, okay, we have some 28mm scale character miniatures that we released last time around, and we will most likely do more of those in the future as well. But we were trying to think, okay, what do you always do every game session? Well, not every game session, but quite often. And tactical combat is something that certainly comes up in Traveller quite a bit. Even when you're not really primarily focused on bounty hunting or having ship-to-ship combat. Pirates turn up on occasion. There could be a ship in distress, and occasionally you're going to want to visualize that kind of battle. So knowing that Ian had worked in SketchUp and having talked to him and discussed how can we collaborate in the future, I realized that his work was based on some kind of 3D modeling program. It was SketchUp, and I thought we could probably get these into Maya and see if we can do something with this. And then I thought, Starship Miniatures. Now, we have spent a lot of time in the past converting our pre-existing ships, or at least from Starship 3, into 1 to 270 scale ship miniatures. And that, if you're not familiar with the scale, it's the approximate average scale used in the X-Wing tabletop dogfighting game. So it's a popular scale. And then tactical scale, which is basically, essentially, you can see here we have these hex stands. And the idea is that the ships are not in scale to each other, but are in scale to fit on a 1-inch hex grid. Which, if you are visualizing some kind of ship-to-ship combat, there's a good chance that, it will be on a hex grid rather than a square grid. We can certainly probably make square or round bases as a sort of like free add-on or something like that. But yeah, these ships compared to the traditional style of 28mm ships that we build, they don't take weeks to print. In fact, they don't even take days to print. Even the largest ship, the but actually, I think volume-wise, it has to be the Type C here, mercenary cruise, the Broadsword.
Yeah.
It takes less than a day to print on an FDM printer at this scale, and that means that you can have a whole armada in the time that it would take to print even half of a Type S.
Yeah.
By the way, Albin, if there are any questions or that,
yeah,
feel free to interrupt me.
So the Blasted Camouflage is saying selective cargo selling. You need more cargo. Can you shoot the screen over so we can see the others?
The others? Oh, do you mean the camera close-up, maybe? So, Albin, do you want to just lift off your camera and show them the lineup?
Yeah, sure. So I made a little bit of a lineup over here. Let's see now if we can do this without destroying everything. Like the destructive force of nature we are. Okay. It might be a bit dark here, so if Lisa, could you perhaps shine the light over at this desk here? Yeah, that's a nice looking ring light. Sweet, thank you. So let's see now. I have to look at the video feedback somewhat. So we got a few 7 different ships at the starting of the Kickstarter. So I can't.
Yeah.
These ones, the big ones, are mostly printed in FDM. Because I've been working out how to work out the Apex E10, I think it's called. So it's like a larger scale resin printer. So I think that one, for example, that Beowulf is an SLA.
It's the other way around. That's SLA, and the other one is FDM.
So that one is I try to make everything hollow as I make them, but we are probably going to offer solid versions as well. And you can just use your own supports and stuff like that with a similar scale file as well.
Hold it up a bit higher.
Oh, sorry.
You're drooping. No, not higher. I mean like pan up. There you go. That's good.
So if you compare them, it's kind of difficult to tell now.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see too much detail. We were actually able to get quite a lot of detail out of our FDM printers, like impressively much.
Yeah.
We are using like Prusa's, Mark III Prusa's, so they are like a mid-range printer. So they do give good results out of the box. And you're getting direction from Lisa. And then of course we have the smaller miniatures here, and you can kind of see on the hex grid. Pan up. Yep. There we go. So these would be the tactical miniatures. We don't have the final 3 ships out at the moment. And we just chose not to do printing today because we wanted to focus on getting the campaign out. So you can see that these ships are not in scale to each other, whereas the 270 versions are. So for example, there you can see that we've got on the left a Type P Varga Corsair. We then have a Type M subsidized liner. Pan up a little bit again. You can't see the ships. We only see the map there.
Oh, okay.
So there, that's good. Maybe I should stand here so you can see my screen easily. Then we have the Type C mercenary cruiser, and of course the Type S. And you know, the Type S should be around about the same width. Like if we switch back over briefly to my screen here, you can sort of see that if we take the Type S, I'm wondering if it's not in a group, great. But you can kind of see, like, for the length, that it is, this is about the same breadth or width as the Type S. It's about 37 meters wide. So these are in scale to each other, and you can see here that the Type P is much, much bigger than presented as its miniature down here. So I can switch back to the close-up. But then, yeah, if you pan over to the 270 versions, you can kind of see that these are all in scale to each other, or at least as best that we can tell from the deck plans. So I have taken the deck plans that I could find for these ships and basically accounted for how long I thought it would be at scale, approximately. So again, these are all designs made by Ian Stead and originally presented in the T5 Traveller rules. And our license has come straight from Mark Miller, the CEO of Far Future Enterprises, and one of the creator of Traveller. And yeah, T5 is his edition of the rule set at the moment, which is a lot crunchier than, say, the Mongoose version, or the one that I currently am playing in, which is the Sapphire system, which isn't officially Traveller, but hey, it's Traveller. So yeah, these are the 7 base miniatures that we are presenting. Thank you, Alvin. We'll go back to my scene at the moment. You might notice that there is one extra ship here that you've been seeing out of the corner of your eyes. And this is not an official Traveller ship at all. You can kind of see that Albin has gone over to where the actual full-scale version of that ship is. So this is the Sleipnir, our Expanse-style ship. And you can kind of see the miniature there next to my VF4, which is not an STL print, by the way. That's a rather expensive one. The Blasted Camouflage says the Notanante. This is why I didn't call it the not. It's called the Notanante because you cannot pronounce Notanante. And there it is. That's the configuration that is most like the Rossi. So it has a railgun, some torpedo tubes, and some forward PDCs, as well as a single main engine. So essentially what we're getting at here is this was an experiment, like I said, in our original Starship 3, which we did way back, I think in 2017, 2018 maybe. We did do 1 to 270 miniatures of the ships and also tactical, so they are in the same scale. And we will be revisiting those as a part of this campaign. However, the conversion for us took upwards of a week per ship. And then, of course, they have many variants. So it was not viable. Now, we've worked with John to create a new technique with our software deck designer. This is a back-end technique. It's not going to be something that's going to be released to the public. But this version was created in a matter of, I think, 90 minutes from the original file. So we keep a lot of the detail in there. You saw a few minutes ago what the printed version actually looks like. And basically we're just upgrading. There was a 1 to 270 version of this, which is really ugly. I've shown it off before. It looks blurry, I know, but that's actually what it looks like. It's essentially, that was our technique that took only 5 hours to make a miniature from. So it's mostly there as a demonstration.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah?
Hi, Craig.
Oh, hi, Craig, yes. Yes, Craig is here, and actually we're pleased to announce that Craig, who has been a long-time contributor in our Discord, is actually premiering his own work in this campaign. So we've been able to work with Craig, who created a version of Ian's gig. And in fact, why don't I see if I can bring up a preview version of the campaign, which is going up in 9 minutes. So let's see. I need story, and then I need a preview, and I need to grab this separately. So let's take a look at the campaign. So you guys, if you made it here earlier, you would have noticed the pitch film was up. And you can actually see Craig's gig is right here, featuring at the front, because it looks so fantastic. We have a little bit of a guide, a table of contents, so you can see the order of subjects on this page, because it is quite lengthy. We have, under recommendation from our marketing firm, we have 6 pledge levels on offer. Starting with just the core miniatures. And of course, you know, the core miniatures, that's actually 14 ships, not 7, because you've got the 2 scales, right? And then on top of that, it's not just the STL files themselves. It's also the stands, it's the open lock clips that hold the larger ships together, and it is the pre-supported versions for the SLA. I'm very proud to say that I don't think, aside from the turrets, I don't think a single part needs any support. I want to say that. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure. So we talk about the scale of the ships just a little bit. We have those 7 versions. Of course, there's 2 versions of the Type S. There's our T5 style Type S and Ian's Type S, which I believe is actually technically based on maybe Mega Travel or an earlier version of the Type S, so they're not quite the same. And ours are based on the deck plan for the Murphy class, also with the exterior sort of appearance of some older, I think also Mega Traveler designs. We have our stretch goals coming up. This is old. I need to refresh this because those prices aren't right. I need to change that real quick, I think. We're actually starting at a higher pledge level, so I'm going to have to change that real quick over here. In the meantime, do you want to show them the pre-supported stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Album?
Let's
see, story.
So, what you see before yourself are a program called Shittobox. Very interesting name. It works kind of decent, I guess. I've earlier been using Lychee Slicer for supporting files, but that's what I printed for my Photon S at home. This one works kind of decent as well. The main takeaway perhaps is that I'm not an expert in this yet, but I'm slowly getting there, I'm hoping. So what you see before yourself are the 7 ships, and I've started a few of the support works that I've done on the Type A, for example, and our own Type S. So as you've seen earlier, we actually have printed 4 of these ships already. But I've changed the models slightly to give it more, like for example, if you look at the Type P here, it has like these cool antennas at the rear. They are, when you print them in the tactical scale, very thin. So I've had to go back into the model and change the thickness of them. I've also removed a few towers, not towers, but barrels of the towers and stuff like that, because they are getting too flimsy. So there have been a little bit of work on the models themselves to adapt them to the smaller scale. So I've had to redo the supports for these models that are already printed, which is a little bit annoying, because like if you were to have a model in Prusa Slicer, for example, you could just replace the STL with a new existing file, for example, and it would bring it into the program. But here you have to remove and start over, basically. So that's kind of a pain, I guess. It might be that you need a premium version as well. I'm not sure, but hey,
yeah,
it works.
We'll come back to this in just a little bit. I've gotten the page working. You want to read me the question from Corsair as we switch back? I'm just trying to stay on top of things because I'm going to disappear in a few minutes when we actually do launch to go live. But let's continue with the preview. So what I was refreshing is we've got stretch goals coming up. The pricing wasn't turning up the correct way, so I had to change that straight away. Because we are actually starting with a higher base value under advisement from our we normally start at 500 USD or euros. This case we're starting at 4,500. Apparently this is going to make the campaign more serious to people that aren't used to sort of pledging in any case. So the actual levels of the stretch goals though are adjusted to account for that. So we should be breaking quite a few of these today. So these are Ian's artworks of the ships that will be adding a stretch goal. So each stretch goal we hit, we're gonna build another conversion. So really your core 7 ships is going to grow by 2 versions of a ship for each stretch goal we break through. I anticipate you guys are going to get a really good deal by the end of things if things go the same way that they have been going. We do have a relaunch of the Type S, so it is available in some of the larger pledges or as a standalone for those who missed the last campaign. A part of this whole thing is about trying to appeal to people that we may have missed in our last campaign. And then we have the pledges as mentioned. So I'm very pleased with the graphic design on this one. We sort of like cross classic Traveller appearances with like Stranger Things. So we have 6 main pledges here starting at €25, which is under 30 US bucks. Going all the way up to everything, which is essentially the same as the Megacorp CEO pledge, which is basically our entire back catalogue. So we have a series of things. We have a bunch of new add-ons, exclusive add-ons. So we have actually gone back, or are going back rather, to our classic Chimera series and building Starship Miniatures for them because we never built them because they took too long. Worth mentioning too that everyone that has backed the Chimera campaign in the past, anything that has the stretch goals in them, they will be getting these add-ons free. Basically, we're just going to add them to the pledges. So this is kind of a way that we can reward past backers as well. So there are a bunch of different variants here. The turrets are going to look different at this scale. So this is just a visualization. They're all planned to be ready for SLA and FDM printing. And we have the Notanante there. Very cheeky name, I know. So yeah, there are quite a few options here, including our back catalogue for people that don't have them. So all these ships, you're looking at months worth of work there. And then of course the star of the show, which will probably end up ending here for a second because I need to go and actually launch the campaign in less than a minute. But here we have Ian's gig. We will come back to this in a moment. Alvin, please take it away. I am going to go and launch.
He's going in deep.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
It is. I forget that I can just... Wait, where's the launch button? It's this... Prepare for launch. Where is it?
Countdown in 3, 2, 1.
Don't say that, Alvin.
Don't feel the
I'm
pressure.
ready to launch. I've read these. Launch project. Come on.
Okay, so I thought we could perhaps look a little bit at perhaps the...
We're live.
Oh!
We're live.
Oh!
Get in there, guys.
Go, go, go!
Alright, continue, Alvin, because I do have to generate some emails and things.
Mm-hmm. So if you look at this Vaga Corsair, Type P, I think it's called. What I'm doing at the moment, I mean, I print it at an angle and starting with a tip first, so that you get as little of a profile as possible, I think, at least. So you avoid or decrease the suction effects or the vacuum effects that you can get from having large surfaces printed at one at the same time. So I try to mitigate it with, like, I think it's like a 20-degree angle here. And I just started with a 50% density of supports auto-generated with a larger profile, a heavy profile. I've been looking at, I think it's called 3D Printing Professional at YouTube, and he has like this interesting support system where he has, as you see here, this is called the heavy supports, so they have a decently large contact area I think the upper diameter is 0.60 here in millimeters. And then you would have a medium support. And the interesting thing is that they are basically the same. But the main difference is that the upper connecting area is 0.4 millimeters instead. So the idea is that you decrease the contact area. So if we were to look at this area here, where you have a heavy, heavy, medium, and light support, they are just decreasing their contact area. So usually you would probably have a light support that is thinner in its shaft or its middle part. But the reason for this, as far as I can tell at least, is that you create more of you decrease the risk of it failing while you print. The very thin ones can fail easier because it's a smaller profile that is getting printed. So this way you get chunkier supports all the way up to the point where you get in contact with the model. Let's see now. A good thing about the sheeter box is that you have shortcuts. Like if you press D, for example, you enter the delete mode, and you can just press A for add mode and add supports, and E for edit. So it makes sense, and I like when it makes sense. So if to look at this angle, I like to start from the bottom and look where the main stress points are. Like for here for example, this area is barely supported. There is a little bit of bridging, so it could probably print, but there is also a risk that it will fail, and we don't want fails because that's expensive. So what I'm doing right now, it's kind of difficult to see, but I want to avoid using up too much support material if I can. So what I tend to do, what I've been starting to do lately, is that I create light supports inside of the heavy supports. So the heavy supports are generated first to hit the main stress areas automatically, and then I can add a light support like the thin one here inside of the heavy support. So basically now I'm not getting extra support rods. I'm using up this roughly the same space, but I can do it like this. So I can enter edit mode, pressing E, double click the tip. This creates a cloning of the tip that is light. So I can put out the light supports, like a feather, for example, that supports the extended fin all across. So I would probably go through here and look at the, like for example, this part here. We have a heavy support at the very tip. You could perhaps, if you want to add another support here, it wouldn't make a difference just yet, but the thing I'm looking for here is perhaps getting supports that extends up along the edges here, for example, to mitigate the suction and stuff like that. Then I would probably support all along these edges here, because they are a bit flimsy. Something like that, perhaps. Let's see now. Just to show what I'm thinking, otherwise is that I can just use this and create other feather-like structures like this to give extended support, basically. Let's see now. Something like that, perhaps. And this will help the print stay and maintain its shape, so it doesn't flutter around in the liquid as it prints. So even though it could print this area, the edges here for example, without issue, as it is compiling on top of itself the printed slices. It might be nice to add support on the sides either anyway, because it helps it keep in place, so it doesn't move around. Because I mean, basically you have like this membrane that each layer is made of hardened plastics, and as you move it through the liquid, it can move as well with the liquid, so you need to anchor it down. That's the way I'm thinking of it, at least. So here I'm just adding a little bit more support. And the good thing about these supports, the thin ones, as I mentioned earlier, they have a fairly robust shaft, but the contact point is almost as thin as it can get. It's kind of it's like, is it 15 microns or something like that?
Wow, that's tiny.
Yeah, and when I printed the ones earlier, like on the 270 versions or the X-Wing scale, you can't really see the supports at all. It's a bit different when you look at the tacticals, those, because everything that is a detail here is almost at this scale as well, so you will probably see a little bit more, but the cleanup is very easy, I would say.
Impressive, in fact. I think we've tried to make it so that these supports are on the underside, so you're not going to see them so much when the ships are there, but there really isn't that much to see. Let's see, I need...
So here, just for added support, I'm just adding a few points on the main hull. And as Ben mentioned earlier, this is on the underside. So you can tell by the hole up here, the hexagonal hole, whatever you call it. That's the hole for the what do you call it? The sands later on.
Yes.
So that signals to me that this side is going to be on the underside. So when I play, we will only see this part. So if I am to place supports anywhere, it will not be too distinguishable, but if it is, it's on the underside. That's the idea, at least.
Almost done, guys. I can get back to it in just a tiny bit. Are you serious? Working on... I need to do the web version of this, that's why.
Something we can't really see here, though, but that I found interesting is that Ben did a really nice model of our own Type S, I think it was. Or was it the Ian Stead version of the Type S that you made hollow yourself?
Oh, yeah. I think it was Ian's.
Oh.
Shout out to Ian.
Yeah. Awesome designs, dude. So Ben made this hollow version of the Type S. It's split in half, and the nice thing about it is that well, technically, if you somehow manage to avoid elephant footing, you could probably just print it on the end of it, but it's kind of difficult. I haven't really reached that level yet so that I can handle it, but it is very easy to clean afterwards. So when you print it and it's supported, it drains out all the liquids easily, and I think we barely need any drainage holes, only for like the engines, I think, and they are circular and built in as well, the holes. I think they work very well, at least. Really like the design, so I'm going to try to implement that in do I have it up? This might be the tactical versions. Let's see. I'm going to check a thing here. So if you look at the offshoot, this might be changed later. We're trying out this. Oh man, that's a messy scene. Sorry. So if we were to look at the broadsword, for example, it's kind of chunky. It's a big boy. It's very difficult to print in an SLA printer if you were to print it like it's for the FDM, because that FDM version is in halves. I'm going to check out if I have these. Oh shit, halves here somewhere. That's interesting. Where did I put these? Yeah, whatever. We're going to get back to that at a later stage. Anyway, so I split it in quarters instead. So what I thought was that you could try to use the same idea. So it might be a bit excessive with the clip holes at the moment.
I think so.
Yeah. That's just me not knowing the limits of the clip holes. But the idea is that you will have a quarter of the ship upper hull like that and print it. And then you can add a lot of supports and stuff like that inside if you want to, or on the ends like that, and have a built-in shell. So I would think this would print pretty decently, and you would avoid a lot of spill materials and stuff like that. And I'm promising that we will do that for every ship, but when we get to those scenarios where, for example, we need to change how it's put together at the moment, then that's something I will take into consideration. We could actually look at how it's done here. I think that's the correct.
I'm not sure if is it the right.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So what you see here is the Ian Stead version of the Type S, but it's already pre-hollowed, and we have a profile that contains the open lock clip, and it's yeah, this might actually be one of the older ones.
I think so.
Yeah, because it's open at the end here, so I'm going to have to take a look through this one. But the good thing is that you just print it, add supports on the edges like here, and print it at a slight angle, so you would have a low profile while printing, starting at the tip. And then you just let it hang, and it would drain all the resin through these holes if you leave it on the printer. I like to, if I can, I like to leave it on the printer until the next day, for example, so it gets to drain for like a few hours at least. So that reduces the spillage or the loss of material for when you clean up in isopropanol alcohol or stuff like that. So if you have, I mean, you basically designed it so it's like a, what do you call a shield on English?
A what?
A wedge. Yeah.
A wedge. Okay.
So he made the interior parts that are actually have to be present, shaped like a wedge, so all the resin would flow across and through, so it's easily drained. That's a nice feature, I think. So we'll see. That might be something for future endeavors as well.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for taking the reins on that. There's of course we could do entire episodes on this, but primarily today we're here to talk about the Kickstarter campaign. It is now live. I've now announced it on Facebook and a couple of other places.
Woo!
Let me pull up my my page again. We're already past halfway to our goal, which is awesome, guys. Thank you for supporting us straight out of the gate. It's always exciting when it comes to time to launch. I did turn my microphone back on. Yes, I did. Okay, great. So we'll look a bit more over the campaign page, talk about that. You got that little preview there from Albin. It sounds like some of that information is actually quite, I think Craig mentioned it was quite useful.
Oh,
so
nice.
You got some praise for that and for the detail. Albin has really been experimenting hard.
Yeah.
From having gone from a complete novice with SLA printers to trying to get all of these ships out. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've come into the office and just seen supports hanging from the plate with nothing there.
Yeah, God damn it.
Knowing I'm
It
going to have
sucks.
to tell Albin that it has not gone well. Because Albin has also been moonlighting at the at University West, teaching where he's
Not
double booked,
supporting,
basically.
but yeah.
So yeah, we've already got 37 backers. We've only been going for 17 minutes. Normally we'd be financed by now, but we do have a little bit of a higher goal. It's not an issue, guys. We're definitely going to get there. You guys are getting these products. The core products are already made. Of course, probably worth mentioning that through Kickstarter, you guys will have to wait until the conclusion of the campaign before we can get these files to you. And of course, it's going to take us several months more to develop all of the stretch goals we might unlock and whatnot. Let's talk about some of the content we are releasing in this campaign that is new to this campaign.
Tell me all about the content.
I think you know, but maybe not as much as me, in any case.
Good point.
So, of course, in the post-campaign, you'll be able to upgrade your pledges to higher levels if you want to do that. We'll probably have a few more choosy pledges there, so you could hop up or down depending on what you're looking for. We have our base ships, which are previously shown and discussed. And then, of course, we have the stretch goal. So 6,000 euros is where we start releasing those stretch goals, starting with one of my favorite ship designs, the A2 Far Trader. Now, a couple of months back, we did do a questionnaire. And when we asked you guys which ship in the future would you want to see most, the A2 Trader was by far the most popular ship, with 59% of all respondents bringing that up. And as far as like stretch goals go featuring it, 67.6% of respondents wanted to see it in the stretch goal. So there is, if we're doing the Beowulf next at 28mm scale, but there is like a strong chance that we could tackle that ship in the future as well.
Curious question though.
Yeah,
I'm curious rather. I'm not sure if the question is the Type A2. What kind of tonnage are we talking about there?
That's also a 200-ton ship.
Okay.
The Type A2 is 200 tons. The Type J is 100 ton. We're going to talk about that very soon, because we are actually releasing a 28mm version of this, because it is essentially it won't be Ian's design, because it'll be based on the Murphy. So it'll be kind of like an updated version of the Type J, which is a mining version of the Type S. The Safari, I believe, is 200 tons as well. The laboratory ship, that's 400 tons. It's an awkward shape. If we were, not just that, but the ring itself kind of works like a space station. So that would probably be better as a sort of like as deck plans, but in 3D, modular deck plans, so you could lay it out on the table. Not super suited to production.
And I mean, that's kind of interesting, as you say. That one is 400 tons.
Yes.
It's shaped like a ring.
It is shaped like a ring. Very observant now.
I mean, it's going to be massive when you print it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it would. It would be very massive. So if you can imagine, you see in the center there's like this little shuttle thing. It's actually one of those modular cutters.
Okay.
And I think they're about 4 inches wide. So like 10 centimeters wide. So yeah, that would be quite large and too heavy to actually put on the table at that scale. And the subsidized merchant there too is another 400-ton ship, I believe. So probably a little too big for a full-scale ship.
Yeah.
The only one I would ever really consider that's a very heavy tonnage would be the Type C, mostly because of the shape. But even that, I think honestly, you would need a lot of additional supports for it to actually sit there, and it would be something like 12 kilos.
Holy
so yeah, we'll see. The Gazelle might happen because I love that ship. But we'll see. We also need to prove that, you know, Traveller is a viable thing to do at 28mm scale. Maybe these more reasonably priced and printable models is more up people's alley because it's less of an investment in time, right? I know there are always, like, I've seen some of the Chimera builds that have been out there where people have just made a ship that's like 1.2 meters long and all crazy, but this is our Type S.
Oh.
Yeah.
Lost the camouflage is trying to start a second vote for the Gazelle.
I'm pretty sure that that would be quite popular as well. In fact, if I look at that survey, oh no, the Gazelle's not there because it's already out. Is it on the other one?
How many?
The modular cutter is the second most popular 28mm ship idea, but why is the Gazelle not there? I haven't added the ones that we haven't done. So okay, whatever. Keep those questions coming, guys, if you want, and please keep supporting. This is an exciting time for us because it helps us determine how far we can take the Traveller license while we have it. So let's get into the pledges. We're starting at 25 euros or about $30 US. So that's just the Starship Miniatures plus any stretch goals we unlock. Normally we unlock about 15 to 20 stretch goals overall. We'll see how far we get with that, but I anticipate that we should quite comfortably be able to more than double the number without question. I don't know how things are going to go yet. Our next one up is actually quite a jump in price, but this includes all of the add-ons that we have. Depending on whether or not you've backed our past campaigns is going to determine how much value you get out of this, but essentially we're throwing all of the miniatures that we have in this campaign. So all of the add-ons that are miniatures, another $10 on top of that essentially, and you get all of the add-ons that are exclusive to this campaign, including, I want to say, the Type S, but I'm not entirely sure. Did we add that to that? 28mm J? No, okay, yeah, because it's, yeah, that comes at the next one. So, here we have quite a number of, I should probably go through what these add-ons are in just a bit because I want to talk more about Craig's model. Well, about $1,000 away from funding already. That's great, guys. Yeah, I think the A2 would be one of the most playable ships for a Traveller game.
Oh, we're 1,000.
Yeah, I literally just said
Oh
that.
my God! Sorry, man. I was reading.
So they're all in.
Did you see Craig's comment?
Yes,
Ah,
I did.
Okay. I missed everything.
I also commented on that.
Oh my God! I'm so sorry.
He's so excited. The all-in on this campaign is all of the exclusive add-ons, and that includes the Type S for those that missed it. So yeah, this is jam-packed full of projects that will keep you going for the whole of next year, basically. All-in on Traveller, not just the Type S, but all of the stretch goals. Sorry, the Type S includes the stretch goals we unlocked in our last My Mini Factory campaign. So there are 9 add-ons, or not add-ons, stretch goals that we unlocked for the ship. So they are included, but the all-in Traveller one includes all of our 28mm character miniatures, their stretch goals, all of the exclusive add-ons from that campaign and this campaign, for anyone that's trying to play catch-up. And then we have, of course, the Give Me Everything one, which is basically everything on this page with the exception of lighting kits that's actually done on a third-party site, and the Traveller commercial license is a separate purchase. So yeah, we can look at the add-ons that we've made unique to this campaign. Again, we have a bunch of variants for the Chimera. These originally started as concepts for what you could do with the Chimera. The Chimera was our 4th Kickstarter and our 2nd ship Kickstarter. And the base Chimera itself is kind of like this ugly, long, blocky thing, but the whole idea was that it would be so modular that you could change the shape of it. And you can see here some of the different shapes you could achieve. So this was only ever shown as an example, and we're going to turn these into miniatures. By the way, guys, you should easily be able to see what these are optimized for. You can see here the scales that are included, 1 to 270 and tactical. You can see that they're optimized for SLA and FDM. And usually we will have a note like this is a render, so you guys know that that's not the final product. For example, in these renders, we haven't changed the size of the turrets. They will have to be simplified for easier printing at those scales, for example. We have then the Pathfinder, which was also a Chimera variant. We have the Cerberus, which is also a Chimera variant, but featured in Starship 5, the Sleipnir, as an add-on. Same with the Pegasus.
$700 to go.
Oh, exciting stuff. Then we have the Notanante, which is the cheekiest way to say that Starship 5, the Sleipnir, the design was very heavily based on the same design language as the a certain Martian frigate from a certain hard sci-fi series called The Expanse. So
you did actually name it.
I did actually name it. It's just designed so that it would fit into that universe. It is not a direct copy, and neither is this. But this is kind of like the closest you could kind of get. So this was a version of the ship with a bunch of stretch goals added, which brought it closer to the Notanante. So it has a nose-mounted railgun, it has forward PDCs, it has torpedo tubes, and a single large engine instead of the Sleipnir's 5-engine rear. And the Sleipnirs are not as well armed either. So there is that version. Then we have this turrets pack. So basically, these are representative of what the original turrets look like. So expect the scaled down versions. They are actually very tiny. To have bulkier barrels, to sort of like more stylized versions of these that are going to print well.
They're going to be, what do you call it, heroic scale or something? But smaller, I guess.
Heroic scale is not the correct term, because that could imply that it's like 28 millimeters or something.
A good point.
Yeah, no, these are going to be for the 1 to 270, so they're not turrets for the tactical scale, because at that scale you can barely see the turrets. There's no point in detailing them. But these will probably look slightly larger on the ships than they do at 28 millimeter scale, just so we can have a compromise between scale and a pleasant appearance, something that's easy enough to paint. So we'll thicken up the barrels. They won't be articulated in the same way. Usually these do require some supports on FDM printers, but it's just a case of supporting under the barrel most often. And at those scales, when you're printing them out, support removal is very easy. It's quite delicate, but at the same time, not too much effort to have to remove at all. Then, of course, we have our old ship miniatures. And again, these are actually getting an update because we had static turrets on these. So we're going to switch them out for functional turrets. So the idea is to bring these turrets all to be compatible with the 1 to 270 scale one. So you should be able to take any turret from any Traveller ship. What?
We're funded!
Oh, we funded already! That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I'm just going to scroll up to the top of the page to see that for myself. Oh, very nice, guys. We're well funded.
Thank you!
Very nice. We're well on our way now to unlocking our next stretch goal, which will be... I realize my page is showing in Swedish crowns. You guys should see something. We tried to make it so that the pledge levels in that are close to something that makes sense in USD, right? Unfortunately, we could not set the campaign in USD. We had the choice of either Swedish crowns or euros. As euros are a lot easier to convert, we chose to go with euros.
Is that because we're not in America?
Yes. Like, they haven't added it for some reason. I don't understand quite why, but we know that 65% of you guys actually are in the United States, so it would have been more... We prefer to work in USD, so it's nice and easy to calculate things, but yeah. So going back to the add-ons here, we get to what I think is actually the best add-on for the whole thing. And I can't claim to have had much of a role in this product at all, because it's actually Craig, who I believe is still in the chat, has made this absolutely incredible conversion of Ian's gig. I think this one belongs to the Close Escort, to the Gazelle, right? Although the nose on the one I had from Ian is like pointy, so I don't quite know how that figures yet. But in any case, Craig made this awesome conversion. It does use some Second Dynasty parts, and it uses some of Craig. Maybe Craig can. It uses mostly Second Dynasty in your own stuff, right? For open lock. So it is open lock, the right scale, made to fit alongside our other ships. The landing gears, I believe, are from ours. And yeah, since we have the license, I thought this would be the best way to get this ship into you guys' hands. Craig made an awesome lighting kit for it. I don't know if we'll ever get a conversion for that, but
yeah, holy shit, that was freaking awesome.
It was freaking awesome.
Apparently the internals are Second Dynasty stuff, according to Craig.
Craig is being compensated for this, and Ian as well. They'll get some royalties from the sales. That's only right. What?
The Blasted Camouflage want to print it, but make the nose cone hollow, so you can put a USB in there.
That, you know what? That could be a cool idea to do like a mini version. That's actually...
That's awesome.
Yeah, that would be quite...
Yeah, I want it now as well.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Me too. So yeah, I believe I haven't renamed all the files yet just to follow our regular format, but from what I saw from the files, Craig is very dedicated to documenting the parts. It's like not only each part, but also how long it's supposed to take to print, how much filament or resin it's meant to use. And I believe there's like a version for both. There's a version that's pre-supported and then a version that you could use for FDM. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I can't wait to print it myself. In fact, we might do that during the campaign if we're not busy with our next stretch goal. Add-on, which is the Type J. So over the summer we ran a campaign on the Type S, which we have here, and we unlocked a ton of stretch goals. We also had a series of miniatures, which I'll show you in a little bit. We've chosen to focus mostly on ship miniatures and the 28mm stuff this campaign because we felt it would just be information overload. It already is so much information, right? So I had in mind a stretch goal if we hit the $100,000 mark on the campaign. We got to 75. It was the next stretch goal for the ships, but we didn't quite get there, and that was the Type J Seeker. So the Type J, excuse me for a second while I refill my drink. Just some bubble water. It's not alcoholic or anything. I still have to drive home later.
Question.
Yes.
From Blasted Camouflage. Will the gig or jig, Joff
Gig
get a 270 version?
Yes, but well, I guess I can tell you guys. We have, because there's not a ton of you, and you're probably not going to tell everyone about it, but aside from our regular stretch goals, we do have some secret stretch goals, which really are milestone stretch goals. That's saying, like, when the campaign starts to lull, basically once a week, we're going to release a couple of bonus items. I can tell you that the gig is further down the list of stretch goals, so there will be a version of that. I don't know if it'll be based on Craig's version or Ian's original version yet, so I need to look at that, but we'll see. Well, Craig mentioned he might have one anyway. We'll see. But yeah, the answer is yes, it'll turn up. And I think we'll hit it. I'm running out of breath, guys. I don't normally talk this much during the day. My throat's going to kill tomorrow, and I'm probably going to think I've got corona. But yes, the Type J in Classic Traveller, and correct me if I'm wrong, those of you guys that are more familiar with Traveller than I, but it appeared first in Classic Traveller as a conversion of a Type S, which is normally a Scout Server ship, and people would buy surplus Scout ships, the Type S, and convert it for mining. So basically, it strips out the interior, and in fact, we can get my... You're going to have to forgive me, though, because this is going to look very, very rough. because this is by no means a finished product. I'm just going to open this in the background.
Craig is confirming what you have said.
Okay, awesome. So the basic conversion was that they have added some airlocks to the top and bottom. That may have just been a part of the Type S during that period anyway. They've added some storage for ore. They replaced the laser with a pulse laser for cutting, and then there are some interior differences as well. But the main difference with our Type J is it has the classic Traveller back end. So it's hard to see here, but the classic Traveller back end kind of has this sort of like angled rear, whereas ours is sort of like tapered off. If you are able to check out the T5 plans for it, actually we can see right here. This is the stretch goal file. The original ship, you can kind of see it has this angle, which just tapers off very quickly, whereas the Type J has this classic shape, right? So the major difference is that they move the cabins up the front. There's no freshers in there as far as I can tell. The airlock in the Type S will get converted into a galley, sort of like crew commons. Normally there is a different configuration here because the landing gear are further forward in the classic Traveller version.
Okay.
You've got your ore bays, and this is a very simple block out. So this is going to be, probably not until January when it's fully finished. But you'll be able to take your Type S and do this conversion, right? So,
kind of a curious question. Would you load the ore from through the upper hull?
Yeah, it has bays on the top of the hull.
Okay.
So
Nice.
actually, if we put on the cockpit lid and turret, so it has these sort of sections here, and those will be bay doors, so that basically you'll lift them off. Oh shit! I grabbed a bunch of stuff there. So for those not knowing, this is Maya, the program we use to model our designs.
Nice.
So yeah, it's quite a conversion. It's quite a bit of a job. It's mostly the center of the ship and the rear of the ship. But yeah, that is the Type J, and we're having it both in a standalone version in case that's just the one you want, and an upgrade version for those of you who are looking to take your Type S and upgrade it, right? So that's all of the core add-ons. So that's what's included with like the all-in for this campaign sort of stuff. The 1 to 270 and tactical miniatures above are also included with the sort of €60 pledge. Oh, we also have the all the new stuff pledge too, by the way, guys. So that's just for you guys that backed our last Traveller campaign. So that's just everything that you don't already own.
Oh, by the way, someone is wondering if we want to become famous. I'm thinking we're not, perhaps.
That kind of sounds like it's an ad.
Yeah.
Alright, our second add-on section is from our last campaign. So we have the Beta Centauri. It is almost finished. I am a couple of weeks behind. I can just quickly switch cameras over to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got this covered.
Yeah.
So we have gotten a bit further this week. It's mostly the rear of the ship. I'm still trying to figure out the engines. I really haven't had time this week to do any more work on it. But it's coming along nicely. This is the prototype. It's not all clipped together properly at the moment. I have done quite a bit on the interior as well.
I mean, I think it looks freaking awesome.
It should be finished like next week or the week after latest.
You should see, you'll probably show them, but I mean, I love the cockpit. It has like, I don't know how to put it in words really, but it gets this sporty feeling almost when you watch it. Like slender taperings and stuff like that. Really nice stuff.
Right, we can open that up in the background too. And then of course, so that's both a standalone version and a upgrade version. This originally was based on one of my older ships, and I wanted to Travellerify it. So this is a Traveller Universe version. I don't know how official the ship is, but apparently it's fairly easy to get a ship to become official, especially if you're licensed. So maybe it's an official Traveller ship.
Who knows?
We still need to make stats. We have some aircraft variants.
Sorry.
Yes?
Corsair is wondering what the stingers on the back of the beta is.
They're just... okay, I can explain this in a second. So here we have in scale to a 28mm miniature. So you could kind of see when I held it up to camera that it is a 28mm scale ship. The struts are just struts for decoration. My influences are very much from 80s and 90s Japanese anime style, especially like Macross, Gunbuster, that's and Yamato. So I guess that's a bit earlier technically, but yeah, sort of this kind of cross between something sleek and smooth and something that feels more like a World War II ship in space. Like, so this is quite extensive. I can turn off the ceiling here so you can see into. I'll turn off the glass to. You can see into the cockpit. Actually, why don't we put that top back on? We can just view into it. So it is highly detailed. I'm quite pleased with how this has gone. You can see the interior paneling, and that comes out quite nicely as well.
Yeah.
There will be an air raft bay at the back. Currently it's only a sketch. You can kind of see the area I've prepared for it. Some crew quarters, and then if we take off the midship top and the top deck, you can see engineering, or rather the drive compartment. This will probably be taking batteries for a light kit. We'll be using the same technique that we use for the Type S. Then you have your captain's quarters here, your galley, and sort of like crew commons, I guess. And then we have the passenger section. So they've basically got these two corridors, and they're sort of like passenger commons at the front. So the idea would be this would be a faster sort of alternative to somewhere between a Type S and a Type A. It's about 150 tons. I kind of thought that maybe it could have like secondary. On a second, why did the mid deck not come off?
Oh, Basios is writing to us saying, first of all, he joined the Kickstarter, and he needs to get an FDM printer.
Yes.
And the second part is that he's really glad he's doing this Kickstarter because he's about to start Traveller Campaign, and while he would love to print the 28mm Type S, he think the X-Wing scale will have to do for now.
Yes.
To be continued, I guess.
I was mentioning at the top of the stream, the Type S takes, I think in all honesty, you're probably looking at almost a month of print time on an FDM printer. Whereas you can print all of those 7 ships in less than a week. I would say actually probably about 4 days at the 1 to 270 scale. So if you want to go to the tiny scale, I mean, that could be done in a day easily. Here we have the cargo bay. I'm not going to loiter on the beta too long, but it is coming along nicely. I do need to do more work at the back end here, but yeah, I'm very pleased with how that's gone. Oh, I've managed to turn off some of the mid deck. Apparently I've gotten the layers screwed up, but yeah, the cargo bay is here. It's wide enough that it should be able to take some classic Traveller cargo containers. So it has got more cargo space than a Type S, of course, which is not saying too much because they only have 3 ton. We probably eventually will try and get it statted up, but I'd probably like to work with someone that knows more about it than me. We of course did the air rafts, so we have a sort of like tray-backed version, a 4-seater version. Some of those will fit into the Type S, some are too long. The Type J has a slightly longer bay, but it is going to be a tight fit there as well. Then we get into our 28mm miniature territory, and here we have the very awesome Imperial Star Marines.
They are freaking sexy.
They are painted up very, very beautifully by wait, which is the company? David.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but there's so many Daves. DW. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
DW artist. 3D painting or something. No. DW. Is that right? I'll have to get back on. You know what? We got it in the credits. I'm not going to mispronounce this. This is not fair. So, sorry guys, I've got a lot on my mind. So we're talking about painters, and we have to of course get that blasted camouflage in here because. But yeah, David Moore, DM artist on Facebook and Instagram, I believe. So, sorry for blanking. I'm just like, today is a very stressful day. So this package has 5 unique Star Marines in teal 15 battle dress, and then a extra miniature of getting suited up that was coming from some older artwork. Those have all been sculpted by Papsicles. Shout out to Papsicles. He'll probably have a great deal for us in the near future as well. Congrats on the recent success on Kickstarter too, buddy.
That's awesome.
Then we have the T5 turrets. So these are not as articulated as our turrets normally would be, but they are faithful to the turrets presented in the T5 version of Traveller. So that's a 28mm scale pack. Whether or not we'll make these for the smaller ship miniatures, it may happen. I don't want to commit to anything just yet. And then we have this huge collection of 59 28mm miniatures, and you can only just see, we didn't have much space here. Here are the awesome Hiver miniatures made by that blasted Camouflage. So yeah, we'll get you credited, buddy, after the stream sometime or tomorrow latest. Let's see. And of course we have our Type S crew that we got made up. We've got some spaceships. All of these painted ones. Dave Moore's work as well. We also had there's 20 Varga in there, bandits and soldiers, and 2 Aslan as well, based on some older artwork. So altogether, we're looking at the work of Kyoshinenko, Papsicles, and I was going to say Coulter Pickle, but I mean Flavored Pickle.
Yeah, where does the cold start and the man end?
Each of them have awesome Patreons, so check them out. They're down in the our crew sort of section where we list the people that have worked on these projects. Quite an extensive list at this point. And then the final travel license is a sort of standalone thing for anyone that does want to make a profit out of this. Like you buy a 3D printer and you want to sell your models. This basically allows you to do so for a period of 1 year. Where you can basically make as many copies as you want and sell them on the market. So, of course, that is assuming you're talking small scale. There are some caveats and details, so please read about it further down if that interests you. And then we have second Dynasty add-ons. None of these are actually Traveller related, but it's our past stuff. If you're interested in our work, this is basically an awesome chance to pick up some stuff you might have missed in our past campaigns. We have been going since 2017, so we have quite a volume of work behind us. So we have our 28mm miniatures, mostly featuring from the Sleipnir Kickstarter. There's a total of 65 in there, including some mechs and robots and crew, of course. We like to not just make miniatures, but also make alternative poses. So your main hero crew, the idea is you get, a action pose, a 0G pose, a sort of relaxed pose, a seated pose, so that you can have some sort of hero miniatures to represent your crews, that you can put them in different situations, right? Yeah. Because that's one of the benefits of 3D printing, that you're not as limited as you would be if you're just trying to pick up, generic miniatures. We have our Shuttle Alpha, the first 28mm ship we ever designed. It is quite small in comparison. I can just grab one of those. So this is a version of that. Let me switch cameras. So you can kind of see, need to press that together. So yeah, this one I painted myself. quite a while ago. It is sort of the upgraded version of a most recent one. We do have we've been experimenting with the SLA clear screens. That one worked pretty well. So it is a smaller project than a Type S, but still, maybe closer to a week to print, slightly less. This is the Kickstarter edition. All of these ships are Kickstarter editions, so you get the stretch goals we've unlocked over the years. Scout Ship Beta, that's what the Beta Centauri is originally based on. We have the Transport Delta, which is sort of uses a design language from a galaxy far, far away. Couple of awesome variants in there as well, like the Saucer. Many of these variants were suggested by fans like you too, so we do take into consideration what you guys think and want. Then we have the Chimera Kickstarter Edition. Massive project that. It is 90 centimeters with the base version, so that's 3 feet long for you non-metric users. We have the awesome Chimera Pathfinder. This is the variant, the custom job built by Brian Jenkins, who also painted the Type S and a number of our ships. We have the Chimera Cerberus, which is sort of imagine if you took a World War II bomber version of the Chimera, and that's essentially what we've got here. So it's got a bunch of turrets all over it, and that too feels like it would fit into a galaxy far, far away. We've got the Chimera Pegasus. It's just a passenger transport version of the Chimera. The Sleipnir, our more hard sci-fi, not a starship, a spaceship.
Can you tell me what the difference is?
Well, one of them can travel faster than light. The other cannot.
Because it travels between stars, of course.
I guess if you do find some jump gates or something, it could become a starship. But yeah. Then we have our Starfighters Packs. So these are modular Starfighters. You can make custom designs, but you can kind of see where our inspirations have laid with these. They're all 28mm scale.
I realize now that the main ship there with the circular or globe-shaped cockpit reminds me of that. It's called Swordfish in Cowboy Bebop.
I have not seen Cowboy Bebop, so I couldn't.
Insane.
Fair enough. Then we have, getting back to our older stuff from Starship 1 and 2, it's a bunch of deck plan stuff. So this is kind of modular. You could easily use it to represent a modular sort of Lego concept. Build your own Starship deck plans. So it's an old collection. There's more than 300 STL files in that collection of our stuff. So yeah, all at about 30 cents a piece or something like that. We have our old style turrets, all in 28mm scale. And then finally deck design, which is a piece of software that John has designed for us, essentially to be able to plan your builds out, because a lot of these customized ships are incredibly advanced. And it is kind of hard, especially if you're not a 3D modeler, to sort of put it all together and figure out how you could do a custom job. It's ongoing development. It's at version 1.32 at the moment. So we have also instructions in it for 4 of the Starfighters, the Delta, the Type S, the Cerberus, and the Sleipnir. So in there you can get full-on instructions and see in 3D. You can go step by step, export a printing list, so it's a lot easier to sort of print the more complicated stuff that has hundreds and hundreds of parts without getting too lost. And then finally, off-site, this will take you to seconddynasty.com, where we have links to the existing light kits that we have for our ships. That has been organized by Zorama. There is a new lighting kit coming very, very soon for the Notanante version of the Sleipnir. Single engine. It looks great. I can't wait to get my hands on one of those as well. And then we have some details about delivering in that. But I kind of feel like I've been rambling on for a long time now. Let's go back to the top of the page, see where we're at. Wow, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are very, very close to our first stretch goal. No, we've unlocked the stretch goal.
Oh my god!
Wait, was that €6,500?
Right.
Yes, €6,500 pledged. Which means that we have unlocked our very first stretch goal. Congratulations! You're all getting an A2 Far Trader, assuming that you've pledged in the campaign. So, why don't I quickly go to the edit page and update that graphic to the unlocked version. Let's see, story, and there. Alright, so we just need to change that graphic out to the stretch goal 1 unlocked version. Upload, and then we delete the old one. Alright, save, and let's refresh. We might have to do a hard refresh. What happened? Took us way down to the bottom. Alright, let's see. Stretch goals. Oh, you guys are seeing that probably. Stretch goals. There we go. Unlocked. Unlocked. Brilliant job, guys. Alright, are there any last questions before we sign off for the night? Because we're going to be busy trying to update things and getting the word out. We would appreciate it if you guys get the word out too by sharing as much as you can, especially on any Traveller related sites. We are members of some Traveller Facebook groups, but honestly, I'm going to talk to Mark later today about doing some send-outs in the mailing list and whatnot, but we need all the help that we can get, because essentially, you know, the more money we get in, the more likely the chances are that we're going to get to the Beowulf, to the Far Trader, bringing these into 28mm as well, so that you can really have a beautiful piece for your tabletop. Works as great as just a regular kind of model as well. It's exciting times. I want to thank everyone that's contributed to the project, especially Ian Stead, for contributing his awesome ship designs and being willing to work with us. And of course, Craig, your awesome gig as well. I'm very, very pleased to be able to bring that to market as well. And of course, that Blasted Camouflage's awesome alien miniatures for the Hivers from the last campaign. I do believe you also are going to do a Kickstarter campaign soon in the future, so we'll be sure to market that as well when it does come out. You'll be hearing plenty more for us in the coming days. Tomorrow we're meant to have a scheduled live stream as well, so we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. local time, so that's about 9 a.m. East Coast US, I think, because we just went on to winter time on Sunday. So
yeah, so everything is a mess.
Everything is a mess indeed. We're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we will talk soon. And thank you so much for funding us. We're looking forward to unlocking as many stretch goals as we possibly can. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye.